Well, the Vatican has announced when people will be able to pay their final respects to Pope Francis and when the late pontiff's funeral will be held.
Let's go live to CTV's Genevieve Beauchemin, who's live in Rome this morning and joins us with the details. Genevieve, appreciate you joining us this morning. Set the scene, at St. Peter's Square this morning, what that's like there, what the mood and sort of feelings are like today.
Well, Nick, there's a lot of people who are flocking from all over the world to be here to pay their respects to the Pope. Several people who were here just coincidentally who had happened to be here, in fact, for some of the events that were ongoing for Easter over the weekend. Some of them who had seen the Pope in St. Peter's Square hours before his death, his passing. And so a bit of that shock, the initial shock has worn off. People are now talking about the fact that they are going to the next stage of mourning. There are those ancient rituals which have been set into motion for the passing of the Pope, for the funerals, for the upcoming events. And so they're moving on now to that stage of trying to share their memories of how they saw the Pope and how they feel that this is going to be carried on. His legacy will be carried on within the Church moving forward. But it is certainly the streets of Rome here, the Vatican City, crowded with people who have come to pay their respects, people, members of the clergy, but also the faithful, and also people from other faiths who are here. And they're stopping by this area here to remember this day.
And Genevieve, we know that the last Pope's funeral was for Pope Benedict in 2023. At that point, he had resigned, which is a rare move in the history of the Catholic Church. So how will this funeral be different, and when does that start?
Well, there's different. It's interesting because, of course, there are things that are part of every funeral. It is, of course, an ancient ritual. There's things rituals and traditions that are carried on, even so, for Pope Benedict's funeral. But there are things that will be quite different. We're expecting a lot more people, a lot more of the faithful to come to this particular event. It was so different for the funeral of Benedict. And so there will be a viewing. So what's happening now is that the body of the Pope, the late Pope, is still at Casa Santa Marta. It will be moved to St. Peter's Basilica, where the viewing will start for the members of the public. And that will be at 9 a.m. local time here, Rome, on Wednesday morning. And then we know that there will be a funeral that will happen on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. here, local time in Rome. And then after that, the body of the Pope will be brought to St. Mary Major, which is a church that a basilica that he has a particular affection for. This is a place where he used to stop before his visits to foreign countries, where he would go before and after he returned, and also a place that we're told he snuck out to on that day on March 13th, 2013, when he was elected Pope. He snuck out there to have some prayers at that day, so it had a special place in his heart, and he asked to be entombed there. That's not the tradition. There are other popes. There are 6 other popes who are entombed there, but that's not the tradition over centuries and centuries. They're usually here at St. Peter's Basilica. But he wanted to be entombed there. He wanted some things to be very, as we know, very simple. He wanted a simple wooden casket with just the name Franciscus inscribed on it. So that's certainly some of the differences. But of course, a lot of this is dictated by ancient rituals that have been carried out for centuries and centuries.
That's why he was called the People's Pope. So many details about his non-traditional ways there. CTV's Genevieve Beauchemin joining us live from Vatican City. Thank you.